Hey there, bestie. I'm Loriemi, your What to Read Next podcast host. Join me as we dive into exciting new reads that'll have you reaching for your TBR pile in no time. From group and mysteries to spicy romances, we'll explore it all and help you find your next favorite book. So grab a cup of tea, cozy it up, and let's discover some amazing reads together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited to chat with you today about magical libraries. So this is a bite-sized recommendation of what your favorite authors read and recommend. Cat Sebastian has an episode that's airing around this time, a couple weeks before, a couple weeks after. So there will be a couple of Cat Sebastian episodes. We love Cat. She's amazing. She's a good friend of the show. I really love chatting with her. As we recorded this episode in 2022 when she was promoting The Perfect Crimes of Marian Hayes. This is a fun historical romance that you should definitely read. It's a queer historical. It's fun. It's just rompy. It's just comforting. The reason why I pulled it up is because Kat came and shares her recommendations of magical libraries. And I get a library card month, and I'm like a huge library supporter. So I figure, what better way to celebrate this month with some magical libraries? I hope you enjoyed this episode. Kat, welcome to What's Your Next podcast.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you back. So tell us what you've been up to.
So my book that comes out in June is about, it's two people who fall in love via blackmail letters, which is, I mean, obviously you have to be pretty bad at both blackmailing and also being blackmailed in order for that to happen. But these are like two disaster bisexuals who everything they do is just going wrong. And this is just part of it going wrong. And basically one of them is like a self-styled Robin Hood type of figure who thinks he's doing crime for the right reasons. And the other one is like a pretty uptight, bossy, like she's currently sort of married to a duke, but it turns out it's bigamous. And so he's like, what I'm going to do as my good deed of the day is like blackmail some rich people. And so he sends her a letter. And she responds with like a really mean letter of her own. And it turns out that he just really can't resist mean women. And things go downhill from there. And she winds up needing to flee from the law after she kills her sort of husband. And they had to go on a road trip like you do in romance novels.
Like you do in a romance novel, just along with blackmailing, killing, murder, and all the other fun stuff.
I probably should have mentioned the title. That's The Perfect Crimes of Marian Hayes.
Well, it is a perfect crime that she just said.
Right. I mean, like, it had to be done. It had to be done.
Yes, and her husband was horrible. So,
like, really not a nice guy. Someone had to kill him. He needed killing.
And Marian did it. Let's try some book recommendations. Do you have any books to recommend our listeners to pick?
I do. Okay. So I put together a list of books that are about magical libraries or magical librarians. There's so many. Like, because once I started listing them, I realized there were like 50 more. And so I had to like narrow my scope down, like, and take out the dystopian librarians. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay. So this is only magical libraries and librarians. Okay, so the first one is Alice 6 by Olivia Blake. Okay. And she's an author who I know her work from fanfic. Okay. Like from fanfic in the fandom that we don't talk about. Okay. I know. And
Yeah.
And I know her from, it's literally a 300,000 word fic she wrote for like my least favorite pairing in the world. And yet I read it in like 2 days. It was like completely like I was obsessed. Okay. Like I was at one of my kids' music recitals, like thinking to myself, like, what if I read fanfic on my phone while this is happening? And I was like, no, Kat, no, like that's really bad rom territory. But anyway, so I knew that if she could make me hear about that situation, I could read you know what I mean? Like anything, right? And sure enough, like I was sucked into this entire world that she made where you've got like a bunch of people who seem like smart, intelligent people, but they're making like truly horrible life choices because they've been given access to what they're told is the Library of Alexandria, which has not been lost, but it has been hidden, and it contains like all kinds of arcane knowledge. So they go and they basically lock themselves up in a year to presumably do terrible things to one another or whatever, and have horrible things happen to them because they get access to this knowledge. And like, there's a bazillion point of view characters in this book. Like it's wacky and sprawling and it's all over the place. And I think I read it in like 18 hours. Like totally, it was that kind of like where like you don't want to, like you're brushing your teeth, but you're still reading. Like that kind of, which is like, that's the like high that I'm always chasing after. The next one in a totally different style is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which got a whole bunch of attention a couple of years ago from like, and I'm always skeptical when like my mom likes a book, but also the internet likes the book. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to read it now because like, what is this? Right. Like I can't please everybody, but now I loved it. I cried like 7 times. It was like really embarrassing. And so the premise is that like there exists a library where alternate versions of your life exist. Okay. And so the main character is in a really horrible place at the beginning of the book and then wakes up in some kind of like pocket universe where their like middle school librarian or something is there like saying, look, the books on these shelves contain versions of your life. Like if you had made a different choice, like in a sliding doors type of situation, right? Then this is the life you would like, that this is the life you would live. And the rest of the book is them going through all of these different situations in order to figure out what kind of life they really want to live. And like it is like for anyone who's like had that like, oh, if only I had just done this one other thing, or like oh my God, like what if I hadn't done this thing? And like then where would I be? Right. Like I met my kid's dad in like a supermarket. Like, and so what if I hadn't gone to that supermarket? You know what I mean? Like that's like a, like you could have that kind of horrifying. And so like that I think is something everyone's thought about. And so it's like a creepy good or creepy bad feeling to really investigate that for the duration of a book. Right. Yeah. And then I've got A Marvelous Light by Freya Marksy. Okay. And I'm realizing that I have read her name a million times and I don't know how to pronounce it. So I should probably figure that out. It's the first in a series. It is like historical fantasy romance. It's like a really large, good-natured himbo plus a really prickly, reserved librarian / archivist. And they have to solve like magical mysteries together. Like that's all, you know, you don't need to hear anymore. It's like himbo plus I had to make a tag in my book spreadsheet that's just himbo / librarian just for this, because like that is, you know what? Like that's the dynamic I want more of. I want more of that. Yeah. Like it's perfect. Yeah. And then I have this tiny bit of a stretch is In Other Lands by Sarah Reese Brennan, which is one of my favorite comfort reads. And I think I read it like 4 times since March 2020. Okay. And it's like the classic situation where like a couple of select children from our universe are chosen to go to a magical school in another realm. Except the twist here is that our main character, Elliot, is super skeptical about this from the beginning. Like, why are we human trafficking children to like go to another world and like be child soldiers? Like, this is all super fishy, right? And they all like, why do they all want to fight wars when instead Elliot can go hang out in the library and come up with clever diplomatic solutions to everybody's problems? And he's such a jerk and he's such a mess. And he's a kid at the beginning. And he's that kid that like nobody can stand in school. You know what I mean? Like they like it. And it's so, but as an adult, it's so lovely to see like this kid come into his own and also just be like a giant dork and read all of the books in like the creepy magic school library. So anyway, those are 4 magic librarian books that I loved.
I love this recommendations. All of them are unique enough. Like if you're thinking for librarians, but you have some good objective reads, you have some himbos, you have some like sliding doors. So there's a little bit of everything. And it's funny enough, that's how publishing has been working with giving us magic librarians.
So many more. Like this is wild. Like who knew this was like a mini trope? I had not thought of this.
Yeah, until you realize, and then you're like, I need more of these books. And then you're like, oh, there's more. So, yeah. Awesome. So, Kat, tell us where you can find it online.
I am on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Cat S Writes. And my website is catsebastian.com.
Thank you, Kat, for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the What to Read Next podcast. If you enjoy our bookish conversations and want more recommendations, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, head on over to the What to Read Next blog for a list of books mentioned in today's show. Happy reading!